Hi everyone, Lukas from lgmphotography.co.uk, and in this video I'm just going to be talking about portrait lenses. Now I hear lots of the same question is, what is the best lens for portraits? And it's quite a difficult question to answer because there are so many lenses that you can use for portraits. I personally use lenses from wide angle to telephoto for portraits, depending on the kind of shots I'm trying to get. I find myself using a 24mm, 35mm if I'm looking to take environmental portraits. So I've got my subject, but I also want to include quite a lot of what is around them, and those lenses are great for it. You know, using a 24-70 will be very good for this. But again, this is a very specific type of portraits, and I think most people are talking about, when they ask about portrait lenses, is they want that close portraits with kind of nice blurry background, which give you sharp images, this kind of candid shots. And really there are three contenders that I've used and I use all the time. And the first one is the 50mm lens. When I started photography, when I started the portrait photography, I got myself a 50mm 1.8 Nikon, and that was the D version, not the G, so the cheapest one you could get. And I used this for about my first few weddings as my portrait lens, and it worked very well. As long as you know how to use it and you use the lighting right, you'll get amazing result with that lens. And that lens is today under £100 on eBay, you can find it. So, and it's an excellent lens to start for DX especially. So it gives you a 75mm focal length, which is kind of closer to get a nice no distortion portrait and give you a nice complementing portrait. So that is definitely a recommendation I would give if you're using DX, if you're low in budget. That's one. Obviously the 50mm 1.4 G is the best 50mm I've used. It's excellent. It works very well with FX as well, especially if you are limited in spaces. I find that we're using this lens in a small-ish room is much better than using an 85 and a 70-200 because you don't have to be as far as your subject. You can be quite close and be getting some great result. Obviously 1.4 is great to get a nice and a good separation between your subject and your background and give you a nice bokeh. And optically it's excellent. It is the most expensive 50mm you will pay for, but well worth the price you're paying for. And the good thing about this is also very compact. I will be bringing up the other lens after that, but putting this into your camera won't really annoy you, and it will be easy to carry around. The second one is the 70-200. And as you can see, first of all, the size difference is huge. The 70-200 is probably one of my best portrait lens, and the reason for that is because you get that telephoto effect, which kind of compacts everything, and when you look at a picture, it doesn't look like everything is miles away behind my subject. Everything looks quite close, and it gives this nice effect, especially if it's a busy, if there's lots of light in the background. Excellent to use, probably between 135. I use it probably between 105 to 200, and I like to use this lens at 200. The VR2 version, which is this one, is sharp all the way. There is no vignetting issues. It's a perfect lens for any Nikon cameras, really, really good. And I know the Canon does the same, the 2.8, which is excellent. Well known from all the photographers. So yeah, another excellent lens. As I said, this telephoto effect that compacts everything, you can get this with a 50mm. You need to go for a longer focal length, and this kind of provides you with it. f2.8 is well, so give you a nice bokeh at the back. Again, nice separation between your subject and your background. And it's also very good for smaller group pictures. The only thing, obviously, the downside with this lens is you need to have quite a long distance between yourself and your subject, and that's something to take in consideration when you're shooting. Using this in a bedroom or in a lounge, or in a small environment, can be a bit tricky. And even sometimes if you're using in a restaurant, let's say, or at the reception of a wedding, and the reception is a bit small, well, you've got to watch out for your corners and make sure that you've got the right distance, otherwise you'll end up by cropping the pictures too much. On an FX, 70 is not too bad. It's not that, it doesn't go as far as, it's okay to use, but I would rather use something else in a closed environment. Great for outdoors, absolutely perfect for that. At night time as well, excellent, because it's got the VR, so it kind of gives you a bit stabilization. You don't need to push your ISO too much. Yeah, amazing lens. The third one which I use also is one of my favorites, absolute favorites, is the 85mm f1.4. Now, Nikon does it, Canon do it, and Sigma, I don't think Tamron does it. But I use the Sigma, and the reason I went for the Sigma is because I didn't really have the budget to pay for the Nikon version, and the review from the Sigma were excellent, and the autofocus is much faster than the Nikon, which is something that's quite important for me. So I've used it for a good 2 years now, and it's just astonishing. This is really a specialized lens, which should be really used just for portraits, really. 1.4 gives you this amazing smooth background, very, very blurry, beautiful separation between your subject, and you get crystal sharp images. So just excellent all the way around. But again, it is a very specialized lens, and it's not a lens I will be using for my day-to-day work. It's not bad. It's quite small if you compare it to the 70-200. It is smaller and easier to carry around. So having this on your camera, it's quite easy again. But it limits you. Being a prime, it kind of limits you at 85mm, which is not great for environmental portraits, or for landscape, or if you wanted to get quite a lot in a picture. It's not the best lens for that. This is really specialized portrait photography, nice close-up, nice portrait couple shot of a couple, and yeah, that is pretty much the best portrait lens I have in my bag. But again, in some circumstances, I prefer to use the 70-200. And the reason is that when you're shooting at 1.4, your depth of field is very, very shallow. And shooting a couple, you have to make sure that the couple is exactly on the same line of focus, otherwise one of them will be out of focus. I try to normally focus on the eye of the bride and try to kind of bring the groom into the picture to make sure I've got him in focus. And this will depend on the distance you're shooting your subject. If you want a close-up or the shoulder and face with the hair, the veil, you're gonna have to be very careful at 1.4 if you're shooting there, because 9 times out of 10 you won't get them in the same line, and you will get one of them out of focus, which you don't want. So if I do this, I'm very careful in the positioning on them or posing them. And I normally try to use my assistant, and we do. There is a few test shots and to make sure it's right. The good thing about it is you can kind of go back, and then by increasing your distance, you're increasing your depth of field. You're increasing the depth of field, so you get more chance to get both of them in focus at 1.4, and keeping obviously that nice blurry background. Excellent for the Brownizer method if you want to use. That's the only lens I use for this method. So yeah, 70-200, 85, 50mm. I would probably say if you are looking for a portrait lens, obviously if budget it's an issue, 50mm is probably the best option for yourself. You'll find it amazing. You could probably use it for all your portrait work, and you love it, absolutely love it. You're looking probably at £300 for the lens here. The second position is probably the 85, I would say. I would say if you don't have any of these free lens and you have a large budget, go for the 70-200 first. I wouldn't get the 85 before the 70-200 because the 70-200 gives you more, is more versatile and you can use it for more occasion. And if you are a wedding photographer or a photographer that needs something that you know you're going to be working in a rush, there's a bit of pressure there, this could be an issue because you may be limited in with your focal length and that could limit you. As this kind of opens more door when you're shooting. 70-200 is much larger. You can kind of go back 70 and you can still get quite a lot in a picture and go up to 200 to get even closer. So my recommendation on budget, go for the 50. If you don't have a budget and you don't have any of these lenses, go for the 70-200 and then later get the 85. And if you are very rich or your parents give you lots of money, buy all of them. That's the best thing to do. But yeah, my recommendation is, it's an hard thing to say because in each situation I will use a different lens. So to me, this is the best portrait lens, the 85mm 1.4, followed by the 70-200 and then the 50mm. So that is pretty much my recommendation. If you have any questions, let me know. And yeah, don't forget to subscribe. Cheers. See ya.